Hey, what's up, guys? So, up next, we're going to do 1350 Part 2. So, this is a video from Anthony McPherson. Debunked. Black people commit more crimes. This ought to be a good one.
Your friend says racism ended a long time ago. Instead of terminating the friendship, you challenge your friend to a game of debate about black people. You say, if racism is over, why do black people make up 40% of the prison population? Why are black drivers 30% more likely to be pulled over? Why are black people 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police? And they will crush you with one simple response: because black people commit more crimes. You will tell them to prove it, and they're more than happy to provide you with the source of all sources: FBI Uniform Crime Reporting Statistics. This is their go-to move anytime they see someone online addressing the mistreatment black people face at the hands of law enforcement. They link you to FBI data tables and eventually say one of the most common racist talking points spoken by racists who don't believe in racism: black people make up 13% of the population, yet commit
Yep.
over half the crime. Hi, I'm Anthony McPherson, and you should subscribe to it because today this racist talking point dies. Not only are we
Good.
going to empirically prove that it's wrong.
Now, this is where I stopped the video. I was watching it just to see what he was going to talk about. And once he said that, I stopped it and I was like, I got to react to this. So from here on out, I have no idea what he's going to say. All right. I hope this is a 20-minute video. So I hope he's going to thoroughly debunk this talking point and squash it into the fucking ground. All right. This statistic and any other thing similar to it is causing so much harm, and a lot of people spouting off this nonsense has no idea the harm that they're causing. You know what I'm saying? The police who are treating black people differently, in my opinion, a lot of them are probably buying into this. And then they're saying, oh, black people commit more crime, so these are probably criminals right here. We better approach them differently. That's going to make them feel more uncomfortable, more um, uneasy about the situation. They're going to be more fearful. They're going to be, their stress and anxiety is going to go through the roof. Then the cops are going to see that, and that's going, as it's like two dogs who wouldn't normally fight with each other, but because they're both big and scary, they're going to fight. They're going to look at that other dog and they're going to say, that dog could eat me alive. And I don't want that dog to get the upper hand because I know he's probably going to bite me. Boom. They're both thinking the same thing. They're in defense first of all, and then they go to offense because they don't want to be caught off guard. It's the same thing, y'all.
But we'll prove that even if you waved a magic wand and somehow made it that this talking point were correct, its results do not matter. It's like a mouse next to an elephant. But mice, for some reason, scare elephants, and the GOP's logo is an elephant. Like, why conservatives are so terrified of tiny issues like this, I don't know. I know, but whatever. Let's just be clear that today I'm only discussing the talking point: black people make up 13% of the population but commit over half the crime. I will unfortunately not be exploring more interesting topics like whether or not some crime is good, such as in the case of Harriet Tubman. I believe that that is a much more interesting topic, but because there are racists and centrists, we have to talk about basic shit that isn't as fun. But, I progress. We're just going to assume that all laws are just because America has no experience with unjust laws, obviously. And we will say that all criminals, all of them, are bad, including civil rights activists such as Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. We're also not going to question the validity of the FBI as a source in this video. So I will not mention that the then director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, described.
Oh, wow. That is such an interesting point that he's making right here. Rosa Parks did break the law. I mean, that was the law at the time. She had to stand up. She was not allowed to sit down. Very interesting talking point. That's not to say she was in the wrong, but she was in the right. You know what I'm saying? She had every right to sit down.
MLK and the civil rights movement as the greatest threat to our nation? No. We will assume that the FBI collects all data in an unbiased manner from top to bottom. Now, for the record, I personally believe.
Wow. I see what he's doing here. He is being very sarcastic about all these points he's bringing up. We're going to assume that they have no biased laws. We're going to assume that all these other things, right? And they're all being sarcastic. I love his talking point so far.
That it is ridiculous to think that racism and crime aren't connected, because fighting racism was literally a crime in and of itself. And all that data on criminalized black activists affected a generation of data that the following generation of police based their operations on. But I progress, because the NPC who regurgitates this Shapiro talking point isn't imagining activists when they talk about.
Now, here's the interesting thing that I've just picked up on. So apparently the FBI is where this comes from. And who could have figured out that the Republicans often criticize the FBI for being partisan? I mean, how do you rectify that? How are you going to say the FBI is corrupt because of how they've investigated Donald Trump and all these other things? They're awful or evil organization or whatever else. But then you're going to spout off statistics that comes from the FBI? That don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying?
FBI statistics. They're obviously imagining 50 Cent when they say it, and they probably don't know that that wasn't a picture of 50 Cent. Also, we're going to pretend that the FBI
that's not 50 Cent.
Its tables.
I'm pretty sure that was Tupac. Let's see.
They're obviously imagining 50 Cent when they say it, and they probably
that's Tupac right there.
That wasn't a picture
pretty sure.
of 50 Cent. Also, we're going to pretend that the FBI adjusts its tables once they realize their estimations are incongruous with the actual amount of reported crimes. But just in case you don't want to live in a fantasy land, the Wall Street Journal wrote an interesting piece on their ancient system for generating estimates, link in the description. But me, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt at every opportunity I can, which will make this even funnier in the end. Left-leaning folk in the comments will be tempted to justify black crime by bringing up privilege, over-policing in black neighborhoods, or the fact that after the Civil War, the Southern economy would have collapsed without black bodies working for free, and thus the prison industrial complex was born. Well, that's not what this video does. What we will do is whenever someone says black people commit half the crime and tries to prove it with FBI data statistics, we will link them to this video because it proves them wrong. Let the wrong people make their justifications, not you, because that's weird. McPherson, don't waste your precious time arguing with these people. Anyone who says this talking point has already proven that they are racist because they are trying to prove that black people are more prone to criminal behavior because they are black. So I'm going to say that there's 3 stages of racism because, sure, why not?
For the most part, that's what I hear. When anyone spouts off that statistic, that is what I hear. Because you're black, you're more likely to commit crime. That is racist. All right. If you are using this statistic to try and say that society is what is causing this disparity, or their environment or whatever else, then fine. I still don't agree with the numbers, but fine. At least now you're getting to the root cause of why there is uh these statistics exist in the first place. Then fine.
Racism, where you naively think race no longer matters. 2, closeted racism. And 3, open racism. If you call a Caterpie racist a racist, they will retreat to their cocoon and eventually morph into a full-blown piece of shit. Am I saying you should coddle them? No. I'm saying link them to this video because I will coddle them on your behalf. I will assume that they are fact-based individuals who, for some indiscernible reason, lacked the motivation to thoroughly interpret these tables. I'm gonna turn the tables on them. I will debunk their claim by speaking a language they understand. All facts, no empathy. Last thing before we get started, I'll be using the most up-to-date FBI data tables at the time, links in the description if you want to follow along or double check my work. I understand those who don't take FBI tables seriously because they can never reflect the current year, but consider this, I'm using 2018 data tables, and in 2018, people were still saying this racist talking point.
And they still are.
Oh, I just wanted to make you wait for it. Okay, cool. Ready to get started? Let's do it. Black people make up 13% of the population but commit over half the crime. What's your source?
FBI data tables. You can't argue with it because it's an irrefutable fact.
To argue against FBI data...
Yeah, numbers don't lie. But people do. And where do those numbers come from? From people. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Tables is to argue against objectivity itself. According to Table 43A, black people are arrested for 27.4%. Like a game of telephone, this talking point got more hyperbolic with every retelling. Those driven by fear have...
Alright, y'all. I am actually going to pull up his links on my computer. Alright. We're going to do some research. We're going to follow along. And we're going to see exactly what it is he's trying to show us. Alright. I think what he's getting ready to show us is that the 1350 statistic is way outdated. I think that's what he's going to say. And that could be the cause of any number of things. Alright. You know, their technology, the way that they, you know, and another thing too, something I just thought about, I would like to know what the statistic was, like years and years and years ago. If it still says 13% of the population, then we know it's bogus. Want to know why? As time goes on, more and more people are being born. Alright. Alright, y'all. So, we got the website pulled up that he's getting ready to use. Alright. Now, in case you guys are curious and you also might want to go and click on these links, if you don't want to pay, forget about the Wall Street Journal. Alright. I spent 10 or 15 minutes, I think, trying to view one article. It says sign up for free so you can view a limited amount of articles. I signed up. I go back to the thing again, and it still will not let me view one article. and says I've used up all my credits. So just forget about the Wall Street Journal unless you want to pay for it. All right. But the website he's getting ready to show right now, I've got that pulled up. That didn't make me have to sign up for anything at all. It just opens right up and lets me see it. All right. So let's go.
People make up 13% of the population but commit over half the crime. What's your source?
FBI data tables. You can't argue with it because it's an irrefutable fact. To argue against FBI data tables is to argue against objectivity itself.
According to Table 43A, black people are arrested for 27.4%. Like a game of telephone, this talking point got more hyperbolic with every retelling. Those driven by fear.
So what he's talking about right now is total arrests based on percentage. So he's saying that total arrests for 2018, 27% was black or African American. And then it says white is 69%.
Long history of exaggerating the threat black people are to society. But if they do commit over half the violent crime, black people make up 13% of the population but commit over half the violent crime. The data table says black people are arrested for 37.4% of violent crime, which means...
Yep, that's what it says. Violent crime, 37.4% for black or African American. And this is the second link that he's got under this video.
Means, according to my calculations, well, that's less than half.
Well, they do commit half of the murder.
Black people make up 13% of the population but commit over half the murders. How many of the unsolved murders do black people commit?
About half of them.
If it's unsolved, how do you know who the murderer is?
Oh, man. Such a interesting point to make here. If it's unsolved, how do you know who the murderer is? That means if you're saying you know the race of the offender, that's speculation. Might want to clarify that. If it's speculation, then simply say, I think the murderer might be this or that.
About a third of murders go unsolved. Data Table 3 shows that 29.5% of the murders are done by an offender of an unknown race, and black people make up 38% of murder offenders, which is less than half.
Well, they only make up 13% of the population, so anything over 13% is still disproportionate.
Now, I'm really curious to see what he's going to say about this, because so far, I'm not seeing anything here that talks about percent of the population. All right. So he may end up going to a different source now. So let's see.
Black people make up 13% of the population yet commit over a third of murders. The next issue is how the data tables interpret who is and isn't black. Zoe Saldana is a black woman, and she claims her blackness.
This is an interesting point, and this is something that I've always said too. There are a lot more races than white and black. You also have Asian, you also have Mexican, which is Latina, I think. I'm not too for sure about that. I think that's what it is. Y'all let me know. All right. But, you know, how do those other races fit in? You know what I'm saying? So, it doesn't make any sense to me, y'all.
As she should, but Her father was Dominican and her mother is Puerto Rican, so her ethnicity would be Hispanic or Latino. FBI Data Table 3 is broken down into 3 categories: sex, race, and ethnicity.
So he says Hispanic or Latino. I think that is basically Mexican. All right.
If a Hispanic woman were to commit a murder, her sex would be listed as female, her ethnicity would be listed as Hispanic or Latino, but what would you list for her race? You might assume it would go under the other category. Notice in 2018 that 312 murder offenders had their race listed as other. But the table says here at the bottom that other includes American Indian or Alaska Native. I can't believe we still refer to people not from India as Indians, but Columbus was a stable genius, I guess. Asian and Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. So if other doesn't include Hispanic or Latino people, I ask again, what would the agency list for a race if a Hispanic?
She's going to go in the black category, right? She has to. That's the only other category she could go into.
Woman commits a crime. There are only 2 possibilities, the white column and the black column. There are no other columns on the table. That's not me saying that.
And she's obviously not light-skinned. She's dark-skinned. So they're going to put her in the black category.
The structure of the table. But don't worry, I will estimate in favor of white murderers, giving them as much benefit of the doubt as possible. 53% of Hispanic and Latino Americans identify as white Hispanic. So 53% of the 1,576 Hispanic or Latino murder offenders is 836 rounded up. Of the 4,884 white offenders, an estimated 836 were actually Hispanic whites. That leaves 740 brown people with nowhere to go but under the black or African American column. Keep in mind, not all agencies collect ethnicity data, so many Latinos are listed as simply black or simply white. Black and brown people make up 13% of the population, yet commit not so fast, McPherson.
Oh no, not this.
You mean not yourself? What do you want, Super Woke Me? You to be your best self. So you're saying you want me to be you? I want you to try. Whatever, just tell me what I did wrong so I can get back to making my video, please. Afro-Latinx people are black.
So he's saying that this is really funny to me. That the people spouting off these racist stereotypes and racist statistics are actually woke. Usually, that's a diss towards, the left-leaning people, right? Not the right-leaning people. So, I guess it's something that could go either way.
So there's no need to make this distinct. Oh, okay. So you are just too woke to be useful right now. Do not use fiction to dispel alternative facts. Wait, if you're supposed to be the best version of me, why do you sound like an old white Jedi master? The flaw resides in your subconscious. Oh, The decolonization of the self is an important invisible journey. The never-ending struggle between darkness and... I completely understand what you're saying, but you have to understand that the people who are watching this video, they think when we say 13% of the population, that 13 is just the African Americans, and they probably think an additional 4% is the Mexicans. So while you are correct, you have to understand that we are talking about people who think that Native Americans are Indians. You don't teach astrophysics to grade schoolers. Very well, very well. But if you continue to fashion your tongue to the contours of the mind of the racially ignorant, you shall deny the world the poetry that is the perfect truth. Cool. So let's move on. Black and brown people make 13% of the population, yet commit a third of the murders. If you are arrested for a crime, does that mean that you committed the crime? I'll do you one better. Do trials exist? I'll do you one better.
Oh man, such a great point that he's making right here. Just because you're arrested for something does not mean you did the crime. That is not an admission of guilt to say I was arrested for something. All right. And like you said, do trials exist? Yes, they exist because being arrested isn't enough to, satisfy the justice system. You have the right to have your day in court to try and prove your innocence. All right.
Why is 𝕒𝕤? FBI data tables are based off of arrests, not court findings. On the Uniform Crime Reporting website, the fine print says, and I quote,
The classification of this offense is based solely on police investigation over here, as opposed to determination of a court, medical examiner, coroner, jury, or any other judicial body.
That's how the FBI sounds. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that 1 year, everyone tried in criminal court is found innocent. Everyone. Great. But those innocent people were still arrested, and those arrests go in the FBI data table with which you use to support your claim that black people commit more crimes, over half. It's innocent until proven guilty, not innocent until arrested. Do you understand the difference? Yeah. Arrests do not equal convictions. This arrest-based data does not prove anyone committed more crime or less crime. If you want me to make a video explaining the difference between arrests and convictions, let me know in the comments and I'll... I'm good. Sorry about that, little buddy. Black and brown people make 13% of the population, yet are arrested for a third of the murders. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but hey, let me do you every favor possible. Let's pretend that these tables are, in fact, irrefutable evidence that black people commit more crime. So we'll pretend that we don't see the big yellow arrests there. Nope, these are all convictions. But I won't stop there. I'll ignore the fact that 97% of these convictions result from guilty pleas, not trials, because the arrested person doesn't want to risk a harsher sentence. I'll ignore that the United States Sentencing Commission found...
Absolutely. I'm going to tell y'all something, and I know for a fact, first-hand knowledge about this. All right. Let me tell you something. I've been steamrolled by the justice system myself. All right. Now, I was with someone who was selling some prescription drugs. She got caught, and I was in the car with her. All right. They did all their talking to her. Every bit of it. She told them it was her stuff. She was the one doing it. I had nothing to do with it. And yet, I'm surprised at the end when they serve me papers too. I have to go to court. And I'm like, why am I having to go to court? This had nothing to do with me. This was all her. Right? So I end up going to court. And they end up telling me that I'm going to have to get a felony out of this for trafficking. And I said, no, I'm not taking a felony. I have a job that if they find out I have a felony, they'll fire me. I'm not taking a felony. I'm like, if you want to give me a felony, we'll take it to court. We'll take it to trial because you don't have enough to get me with that. So my attorney goes back, talks to the officers again. Then she comes back and tells me they'll lower it down to a misdemeanor. You'll get a diversion and whatever else. And I was like, fine, we'll do that. Because I wanted it to be done with and over. This went on for 6 or 7 months, I think, of going to court and doing all this bull over something I had nothing to do with. That's how they steamroll people. They drag it out and drag it out. And then by the time you get there and they're ready to give you a plea deal, you're probably going to freaking take it. I mean, how long do they really have to make you wait before you're finally at the end of your rope, and then you're like, that's it, fine, you win. I'll take whatever deal you want to give me. Just get this done and over with so I can be done with it and go on with my life. You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
That black men receive harsher sentences than white men for the same crime.
That's because black people are repeat offenders.
Except the United States Sentencing Commission found that the violence in criminal history does not account for the difference in sentencing. Do your Googles. I'm also going to ignore that half of the 2,000 people exonerated of violent crimes since I was born have been African American. And let's pretend that police departments all operate in a non-racist manner. Fuck it. Black people make up 13% of the population but commit half the crime. It's time for us to take some accountability. No more excuses. Let's stop blaming the past for our mistakes. The fact is, we are simply more criminal, and until we change how we raise our families, until we change our values and improve our primitive, violent culture, the truth is, we will commit more crimes and always end up in jail. It's time for us to improve. As men. Men make up less than half the population, yet definitely actually commit 73% of crime, 79.5% of violent crime, 87.5% of murder, 85.4% of robbery, 97.2% of rape, 92.5% of sexual offenses outside of rape. I could go on.
Men only commit all of that crime because of our testosterone. It's our desire to succeed that pushes our ambition beyond the law at times.
Wait. So men are the more hormonal of the sexes. That's what you're telling me. Are men not in control of their own actions? Are we not strong enough to overcome our primitive, animal, criminal, thuggish impulses? No. No f***ing excuses. Make better decisions. We men lead in every criminal category except for prostitution.
Not all men.
Forward. 99.9% of black people have never committed a murder. End forward. It's our violent culture. All those brutal action movies, violent video games that serve the deepest, most twisted fantasies of the male mind. All those violent rappers, Eminem, Machine Gun Kelly. We have to show our sons a better way to be a man, or the cycle will never improve. You can't argue against FBI data tables because they're objectively true. I'm not interested in any excuses or justifications. I'm interested in us, as men, becoming less violent and criminal. Stop.
Now, I don't think it's fair to put it on rappers. You know what I'm saying? Rappers aren't causing situations like this. You know, sometimes rappers are simply talking about what they've seen and what they've went through. Like, look at NWA. They were talking about shit they've been through. All right. So we can't look at rappers who are talking about violent crime and all this other kind of stuff and pretend like they're doing it because they like it. A lot of times they are simply talking about stuff they've been through. You know what I'm saying? They're not saying it's a good thing. That is just how they have been a part of it for so long. Look at people who've been in prison for most of their life. And then when they get out, they're completely different. Like, they sleep, eat, and talk like they're still in prison. You become a product of your environment. And for these rappers, a lot of times, I believe, they have been a product of their environment. And they can't just let that go. Like, that's who they are now. Not saying that they're still going to do all the same stuff. that they might have done. They might have sold drugs. They might have done this or that. Not saying that, but what I am saying is their mentality and the way they think and the way they see things, their worldviews are different because of their environment, the way they grew up. So they're not going to look at someone who is saying everyone's treated the same. They're not going to agree with them because they've seen the mistreatment of people in the areas that they came up in. You know what I'm saying? They've seen a lot worse shit than me or most people couldn't even imagine. You know what I'm saying? So let's have at least a little bit of empathy because we didn't grow up like that. All right?
Stop playing the victim to your testosterone. Stop playing the man card. Bonus round, yeah.
Well, the FBI data tables might only tell of arrests, but I have another source that will surely prove that the blacks are black. Crime Data Explorer.
Crime Data Explorer cites a source in their appendix, and that source is FBI data tables, so fail.
Well, the Bureau of Justice Statistics
Also cites FBI uniform crime reporting data tables. They all do. Just give it up. It's over, bro. Speaking of the Bureau of Justice Statistics, they found that if you only measure people below the poverty line, black people per capita have rates of violence very similar to white people, with poor whites at 46.6 per 1,000 poor white people, and poor blacks at 43.4 per 1,000 poor black people. I highly encourage you to use your intellectual, fact-based mind to come up with some solutions that will cure.
That is something I've said many, many times. You know what I'm saying? When poverty rates go up, so do crime rates. Goes hand in hand. Has nothing to do with color. The only thing that is dependent on color in this scenario right here that he's talking about is which areas are predominantly black or predominantly white. That is the only difference. If you switched them around, you would still have the same exact numbers. You know what I'm saying? So color is not dependent on it, whether you're going to be a criminal or not. It has to do with poverty. That's basically it. You know, now sure, that doesn't speak for everybody, because a lot of people are just naturally criminals. But that has nothing to do with color. Every single race is going to have lots and lots of people who just like committing crimes. All right. But you have to separate them from the other people who are just desperate to get by.
Society of poverty. Do that, and you will see crime plummet for all races: blacks, whites, Latinos, Indians, people from India, all of them. The Aristotle once said,
Poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Aristotle, aka me.
the issue is a large percentage of black people are born into poverty, but that is a video for another time. Support
Right.
Patreon so I can keep making these videos because it's very hard to do.
Same thing for white people. A lot of white people are born into poverty, myself included. All right.
Conclusion. 99.99% of black people have never committed a murder. In 2018, there were 6,318 black people arrested for murder. Even if we assume all of those arrested people are empirically guilty, there are conservatively 42 million black and brown people in America. That means 0.01% of the black and brown population are murderers, and that's if we assume all 6,000 are guilty. Perspective, in 2018, 40,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes. When you say 13% of the population commits half the murder, you're ascribing the behavior of 0.01% of us to 100% of us. Now, most rappers will tell you that most of these ain't real, i.e. not about that life. Most of us are just normal people, and lots of us like rap music just as much as white people do. One of my favorite Drake lines
Right?
is, "My automatic rounds catch them while they sleeping. Now I'm the last breathing. Yet I have touched 0 guns in my lifetime. I'm not a Republican or a gangster, so no guns so
There you
far.
go.
Maybe one day, I'll take it."
There you go. And that's exactly what I was saying a second ago. I don't think it's right to blame rappers for crime rates. All right? That doesn't go hand in hand. If you are inspired by rap lyrics that talks about that stuff, and then you think, oh, I'm going to go out and do that, you got bigger problems than to say, oh, this rapper convinced me that it's okay to go kill people. No, they didn't. You convinced yourself of that. If it wasn't for that rapper, it might have been a movie. If it wasn't for a movie, it might have been a video game. If it wasn't for a video game, it would have been something else. You made an excuse. You looked at something that was for entertainment purposes, and you've turned it around and made an excuse when you got caught. That's not okay. Stop making excuses. You're an adult. That rapper didn't put the gun in your hand. That rapper didn't force you to go do that. You made the conscious decision to go do that, and you got to take responsibility for it. Simple.
There. But the only time that I am the gangster in the rap songs is when I am profiled. When I'm following the store, when Margaret clutches her purse, or when the media calls me a thug for peacefully protesting, or when people think I am part of the 0.01% of black people that these FBI data tables apply to. Now, no, we do not think that you are racist because you're white.
I am so glad that he is understanding that this statistic is targeting him and saying he's more likely to be a criminal because he's black. All right. And that's not fair. It is really not. Like, if you want to have a good discussion about crime rates in whatever specific area you want to talk about that. Talk about the cause and talk about what we could do to help it. Citing 1350 isn't helping anything. It's hurting the situation. It's making it worse. It's telling police anytime you deal with black suspects, it's okay to treat them differently because of 1350. You know what I'm saying? Come on now. I am all for police, but they have to do their job properly. They have to treat everyone the same. You know what I'm saying? If you got a white guy and a black guy, they're both cooperating, they treat both of them with the same amount of respect and dignity. If you got a white guy and a black guy and they're both uncooperative and trying to fight and trying to run, then treat both of them the same exact way. Don't treat anybody differently because of how they look, because of how they dress, because of how they talk. Treat everyone the same. Give everybody the same opportunity to be productive in that exchange. And one thing I want to clear up too, sometimes black people run because of statistics like this, because of the rhetoric that black people are more likely to be criminals. And because of that, they're on edge. Sometimes they could be uneasy. Because they know that. And then you have Dante Wright, which was, you know, just a little bit after what happened to George Floyd. Same town, so you know he knew about it. I think he ran because he was scared. I think he was scared because he didn't know what they were going to do to him once they got him in the cuffs. He might have thought, they might pin me to the ground and do me exactly like they did George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? So this rhetoric has to stop. It really has to stop. The police, needs to assert themselves as not being biased against anybody because of how they look or how they dress. You know what I'm saying? That's what is needed. And we can't do that until they stop hearing statistics like this 1350. Simple.
Plenty of white people don't spit these talking points, and we wish very, very much so that you were one of these people. But the fact that I've never committed a violent crime doesn't matter. The fact that FBI data tables are based off of arrests, not court findings, doesn't matter. The fact that not every department collects ethnicity data or even sends data at all doesn't matter. You will still feel that black people are more criminal. And feelings do not care about your facts. Now look, I believe feelings are important. They lead to a more empathetic and healthy lifestyle, but
Right.
these feelings of fear and anger are a very oversensitive reaction. There were 17,000 murder offenders out of the entire American population of 327 million. That means 0.005% of Americans.
Now, Gutfield from Fox News. I wish I could find the video. I've looked and I can't find it. But at one point he said, trying to justify the cops that have killed black people. And he says, well, you're more likely to get shot by a black guy. Okay, in what area? In what area is that true? If you're talking about the ghettos that are predominantly black, then sure. If you get shot in the ghettos that's predominantly black, it's probably going to be a black guy that shot you. What if you get shot in a trailer park? What color is that person that probably shot you? Not black. You know what I'm saying? So that type of rhetoric, that what he's trying to say though, because he didn't specify any type of region, he's saying no matter where you're at, it's probably a black guy that shot you. If you're in a trailer park, oh yeah, sure, black guy shot you. If you're out in the country somewhere, yep, black guy shot you. Like, do some research on this stuff, guys. Stop believing these people that are dog whistling for white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is.
Americans are murderers. Listen, you only have one life to live. Why spend it on arguing over who makes up more of this tiny crumb of the American population? Like, why should an elephant cower and shake in fear before the presence of a mouse?
Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative. And if you were racist before, I hope you're magically not racist now. Special thank you to my empirically perfect girlfriend for helping me behind the scenes, because there are a lot of tasks on here. And
Well said. Beautiful video. Very informative. If you guys have any disagreements, please put in the comments, but be respectful. Please understand, I am not here to take sides. I'm not here to feed into any type of propaganda. I'm here seeking the truth. I will listen and I will have a discussion with anybody who wants to talk. All right, but be genuine and be honest. You're more than welcome to dispute any fact in here you want. But I will be looking over the rest of these websites and seeing, and reading through everything that's here. All right. I'm not that great at reading. I do have trouble staying focused on what I'm reading because I do have ADHD. All right. But I'm at least going to give an effort into reading and seeing what all is in there. All right. So, y'all let me know what y'all think. All right. That's it for now, y'all.